Shane, here we are at a corral setup. As producers move down the regenerative path, integrate livestock, whether we're talking beef, dairy, sheep, goats, doesn't matter. We need to have the ability to train that livestock to portable fence because the portable fence is critical to advancement of regenerative ag.
You're absolutely correct, Gabe. It gives us mobility to get the animals where we need the animal impact. So this facility was built with that in mind. So obviously, Gabe, this is a guardrail facility. We'll bring the animals in here for a day to let them get accustomed to the facility, the perimeters. The next day, we'll bring the animals in and use our poly wire to build along the inside of this guardrail or your facility to start training them to know what the poly wire is.
So they'll go up, touch that poly wire, and they may lunge forward, go through the poly wire, but we have the permanent corral set up as the backup.
So it's containment, so it contains them. And just one thing to be conscientious of is when you're dealing with new animals coming into your facilities, the reason we used guardrail in this facility is to give depth perception. So when animals start running, they see that depth perception. That's something we need to bear in mind. When you design these facilities, start thinking a little bit about the animal's sight, vision, and utilize the materials that you're going to contain them. Because the last thing we want to have happen is the animals to escape. So that's going to lead to other issues for us and getting them accustomed to breaking them to poly wire.
What happens next after you've had them in there a couple of days?
After we have the poly wire up, the animals will be curiosity, will come up and see what the wire is. We definitely want to make sure they get bit. They get hit by the poly so they know when they visually see that, something comes and bites them, and they don't like that. So once we start training them to that, throughout this different paddock, we can have them broke to start moving them out. And what we like to do, we like to bring them into small paddocks. We'll allow them to go outside of the corral, utilize the temporary wire, the poly wire, but we'll still bring them back in at night until we know we have them, we feel comfortable, and they're comfortable with that poly also. You know, Gabe, there's several ways, really we want them to get bit with the wire. So as you can see behind us, we have our water. We also will set hay bales throughout this training facility, and we'll run that poly wire close to those watering area or the bales, so as the animals congregate in, they're going to get bit.
They're always going to walk around the perimeter of the fence. So what that's going to do, it's going to intercept them, and they're going to end up kind of in a corner, and thus they will get acclimated to that poly wire.
We'll also put some offsets through here periodically. So if they do try to run the perimeter, they're going to get bit by that also. But we want, with bearing in mind, we know they're going to hit that stuff and they're going to knock it down, which is fine. We just come back in and reassemble it, and they will get accustomed and not do it again.
And then another thing, after a number of days, then you can start making the paddock that they're in smaller and smaller, because there is an acclimation that the animals need to go through as far as the density of animals.
These are great facilities to get animals trained. Any species we want to get trained, we can get trained with inside of here.
So Shane, here we are in this corral. Explain now what you've done in order to acclimate cattle to both the electric fence and higher stock densities.
Well, we've installed our poly wire. As you can see, around the perimeter of the corral, you can see we've come out here with the poly wire close to the water.
At a 90-degree angle to the water.
So the animals are going to flow when they circle around. They'll be able to hit it there. Then they'll have to walk around the poly to come get a drink. As you can see behind us, we've got following the corral setup. So as they go the perimeters, they're going to bounce that or get shocked by it or hit by it.
And when they come in here to get watered, then they'll hit this fence you put at a 90-degree.
And if you notice, we just use tread and post. We know the cattle are going to hit it and they're going to pop them out. Don't get excited about that. Just come back in nice and calmly, get things set in until the animals get acclimated. Once the animals get acclimated, then we can start narrowing this up, getting the animals used to or accustomed to kind of stock densities that we want to start achieving with this group of livestock.
It doesn't matter the species, right? May take a couple days for them all to get acclimated, but they will. How important is it for farmers to do this before going out into the paddocks?
Well, it depends on how well you like to chase livestock. You know, I love your expression, you know, do what you can sleep with at night. I like to sleep, so I spend at least a good week training my animals.
And the beautiful thing is, doesn't matter whether you have 2 animals, 2,000, 10,000, this is time well spent.
Absolutely the best time you'll spend.
The other thing that we see by doing this, the animals get more acclimated to us. They see us coming, resetting the wire back up. They get used to our voice, our mannerisms. That allows them to be much more calm when we're out moving them in the paddock.
You know, you make a great point there, Gabe. You know, something, you know, we always try to do is we try to spend at least 10, 15, 20 minutes. You know, even if they have the whole corral system, we'll just come out here and we'll stand, you know, or next to the edge. So they get our scent, they're comfortable with us, you know, and they get acclimated to us because we're going to be working with these animals daily.
It's the shocking power of the fence that deters the animal because it is a psychological barrier. So we want to deliver effective shock to that animal. And it starts with the energizer. The energizer is really the core or the heart of your system, and you need to match the size of your energizer in order to deliver that effective shock to the fence. Energizers can be powered by just a regular outlet. Those are going to be your most reliable energizers. Next, we have battery-powered energizers. Those come with either a 6 or a 12-volt battery. Sometimes it's just too cost prohibitive to bring electricity into a site, and then so this can be your next option. If it doesn't have an internal built-in battery, there are small what are called strip grazing units that run off of either 4 or 6 D-cell batteries, and those can often be used in conjunction with a barbed wire perimeter fence just to provide energized fence for ease of management for your animals within that pasture. People often ask me, what about solar units? The solar panel is simply a trickle charging system for the battery. So we still need a battery. Solar's not going to work, obviously, at night. So we need a storage system in order to maintain some power on that fence during the evening and night hours. And so the solar panel just simply is a trickle charger. And we need to size the solar panel for the size of energizer that we're using. Typically, we need a minimum of 10 watts of solar panel for every joule that energizer holds. So we want to be big enough, but we don't necessarily want to be too big because that can have some other ramifications to it.